If your goals aren't crazy, they aren't strong enough. In the world that we live in, having normal, regular goals it's not enough. Not for where you want to go. See, where you want to go, people will still fear. They're still sort of hesitant. They're scared. The excuses have been piled up. And the fear, it's there for good reason. People want to protect their future. People want to follow set paths. Nowadays, though, creativity is starting to expand. You can actually make a sustainable living doing what you like to do. And it's not just like you like to code and so you can become a good coder, or you like to edit so you could become a freelancer. No, it is expanded far past that. Now you could take your genuine interests, and if there is a community of people out there who like what you do and you deliver it in an entertaining manner, if there's a community of people out there who share that same interest, then you could potentially make a living because of who you are. And of course, there's always that fear, that sort of fear of losing yourself, that fear of not being able to keep up, that fear of having to keep a face while maintaining such a strong brand, while maintaining such a strong message. But if you follow your path the right way, those fears can quickly vanish. They could quickly disappear. And so the creative economy is sort of revolutionizing itself in the sense of it's becoming more powerful. You see it every single day. If you look on your Explore page, if you look at the people that you follow, they're trying to monetize their personality. They're trying to monetize their personal brand. Suddenly, you're seeing that people are stepping away from the traditional route and taking their own path. And I think people out there need to realize that their lives are more interesting than they think. Now, you might think, oh, well, your life, there's nothing to what I'm doing, right? I mean, I'm living like the average person. I had an average childhood and I have various things that I'm into, but other than that, what do I have to show? And to that individual, I say, look deeper. To that individual, I say, really explore what makes you you. Beyond just the experience at face value, look deeper into it. What really characterized who you are as a human being? Suddenly your life actually becomes interesting. Suddenly you have things to share. Suddenly you have experiences in which people can take away from and actually learn valuable lessons. And in that way, you just became a creative. How do we navigate this field? How do we approach this? How do we actually become like these people that we've sort of envisioned ourselves to be over the past couple of years, whether it was when we were kids or teenagers or hell, young adults? How do we reach that summit? Well, of course it's hard, but it's not impossible, especially these days. And we'll get into that. With the death of this sort of conventional powerhouse, with the emergence of these creative markets, with the emergence of these paths in which we can take, the opportunities are there. In fact, they're easier to achieve than ever. This is the first time in centuries that you've been able to put your art out there, whether that be in the form of writing or actual art, portraits, whether that be in the form of clothing and design. Whatever the case may be, you live in a time in which you can take that. You take your ideas, you take your imagination, and you turn it into something which can be monetized, something which can be shown to others, something which can be shared between a community of people. It's time to take advantage of that. And so you have convinced yourself for a very long time that your life isn't that interesting. And of course, I touched on that earlier. Through societal experience and through conforming towards today's present modern day society, you have somehow convinced yourself that you lack the ability to be a creative. You lack the ability to have a creative mind in general. You can't really think of things on the fly. You can't be that innovator, which it's honestly a lot of bullshit. If you're able to sit down with yourself for just a little bit, if you're able to sit down with yourself for a few minutes even, and just sit there and you think alone with nothing else to bother you. Of course, the boredom seeps in, but what comes out of it? Something new. A new idea. When we're able to give ourselves the space to think, when we're able to give ourselves the space to actually have clarity, suddenly these ideas actually rush to our minds. Suddenly the cognitive ease allows for us to flow through these imaginations, and out of these imaginations comes something beautiful. And that can be very hard to believe at face value, but sometimes the tension really does prevent us from being creatives. Sometimes the amount of pressure that we put on ourselves, the amount of strain that we put into our thought, into our processes, into other tasks, that severely harms our creative intuition. Now, of course, with that being said, there's always some downsides. Of course, the more creative you are, the less sort of vigilant you are. The margin for error is huge when you're able to find that balance, and when you can tap into your creative self. Suddenly you get better at utilizing it. Suddenly you're able to produce better quality, because now you find that balance between your creative self and your vigilant, focused, hardworking self. Suddenly your creativity actually exists. Your curiosity improves. Now you're experiencing life in a new light, because now you're not so closed off. And that's what the revolution is all about. The biggest issue with people is they have a lot of options. And while that may sound great at face value, it can be extremely paralyzing for your progress. You have that major, you're focused on that major. You have those certain classes that you need to complete, you're focused on completing them, right? The same thing applies to creative work. Why do you want to give yourself 5, 6, 7 plan Bs? Of course, I'm exaggerating a bit, but even 2 is a lot. 2 plan Bs, 2 routes you could go down just in case this one burns to the ground. Will you even give it the chance to burn to the ground? Will you even give it a chance to face adversity before you decide to move on to those other options? Because as human beings, it's extremely unlikely that you do so. It's extremely unlikely that you see this through to the end, that you see this through to no means. It's very likely that you decide, okay, well, this is in a rough patch, let's move on to something easier. It's very easy to do that. Now, I'm not saying you should throw away your whole life and wage on one particular thing. That's taking it to a whole new extreme. But if you have other things getting in the way, you seriously need to have a conversation with yourself, and you need to wonder, you need to ask, is this worth prioritizing? Is this what I want to do? Is this something that I want to put my all into? And if it is, then you better put your fucking all into it. You almost have to build your life around this centerpiece, around this idea, around this path that you want to take. And it can be very scary at first to burn the boats, but it's a sacrifice worth making. And if you are that individual who can do that, then suddenly your efforts will show. That's not without its hardships. This isn't supposed to be some fairy tale. It's supposed to be hard. Even with the conventional routes, there's challenges there, the tension, the pressure. The only difference is you have a system to back you up. With the creative approach, it's different. This is your life. This is a do or suffer. If you're creative, you either do this or nothing else. You hold yourself accountable. You're the one who disciplines yourself in such a way. You're the person who punishes yourself for being careless, for not being thoughtful in this path. Not to say you need to beat yourself up. Of course, once again, that's an extreme, but you're your new boss. You're your new coach. You control everything. And with that comes a responsibility that most people can't really bear. It almost makes you wonder how free-willing people really are in this world. And on top of that, we're fed this idea that these successes happen on accident. That YouTuber, they got lucky with the algorithm. They simply rewarded this person after years and years of uploading, and they got lucky with one hit, and suddenly now they're popular and they're giving this shallow advice. See, that's what we think is the case, but let's think about it for a second. If YouTube is an algorithm, then there are certain videos that they'll promote, and there's certain videos that they'll ignore. Right? They're pushing up quality. They're pushing up things which people are willing to watch, which people are willing to see. And in that sense, you have to be able to understand that and do your due diligence. You see, people get this idea that if you're just sincere, then people will like you, people will enjoy your content, and they'll consume it. And if not, well, then the world is unfair. But what's sincerity without strategy in this day and age? Would your sincerity work if you wanted to be a doctor? Would you being sincere and caring somehow get you up to that position? Was the strategy not there? Was the studying not there? Planning, the tactics, the way in which you structured your day, the things in which you researched, hell, the area of study itself, the place you went to study, that was all strategy. But that has nothing to do with being caring. Of course, you care about the craft enough to look into it, but it took some strategy. It took some focused attention. And with this, it's the same exact thing. Starting to wrap my head around this idea, but it's the truth. That focus, that strategy, it plays into it. So while yes, you have to be sincere as well. Yes, you don't want to lie in front of a camera. You don't want to be that devious person who's only thinking about succeeding. But you also have to be strategic. You have to be smart with what you do. You need to be smart with your research. You need to work with the intention of having people see what you do. Because how else is it going to work? We're all putting out art in some way, shape, or form. Whether that be in the form of information, whether that be in the form of physical beauty, and whatever form that even comes in, it's always out there. And so I want you to take the chance to look for what you want to do. I want you to take the chance to explore what it is you want to be. Go deep, my friend, go deep. With that being said, that's enough of my blabbering. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, share, I don't know, do what you want. And yeah, this is Ibra signing out. I'll see y'all later, man.